Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered why everyone else seems to have this life thing figured out while you feel like you're constantly sabotaging your own progress? Have you noticed that every time you try to follow the conventional path to success, something inside you rebels, choosing retreat over advancement, quiet over achievement, simplicity over complexity? What you might be calling self-sabotage could actually be your deepest wisdom, trying to save you from a way of living that was never meant for you. What if the very impulses that you've been fighting against are actually the keys to unlocking a life of profound peace and authentic fulfillment? The ancient Taoist masters understood something that our modern world has completely forgotten. They knew that what appears to be self-destruction might actually be self-preservation, that what looks like giving up might actually be the beginning of finding your true power. In a culture that worships relentless pursuit, endless accumulation, and constant self-improvement, your natural inclination to step back, to question everything, to choose being overdoing, might feel like sabotage, but it's actually alignment with one of humanity's most profound wisdom traditions. You sabotage yourself every day, not because you lack willpower or discipline, but because somewhere deep inside, your soul knows that the game everyone else is playing is rigged against your true nature. Every time you start climbing that ladder of conventional success and then mysteriously lose motivation, every time you begin a journey toward what you think you should want and then find yourself walking away, every time you choose solitude over networking, depth over breadth, authenticity over performance, you're not sabotaging your life, you're protecting it. The first way you sabotage yourself that's actually profound wisdom is through your resistance to forced goals and artificial timelines. Our society tells us that we should know exactly what we want, create detailed plans to get it, and execute those plans with unwavering determination. But you've discovered something that drives productivity culture crazy. You've learned that forced goals often lead you away from your authentic path rather than toward it. When you set a goal because you think you should have it, because it looks good on paper, because it would impress others or make your family proud, some part of you rebels. You lose interest, you procrastinate, you find every excuse not to move forward, and everyone, including you, calls this self-sabotage. But what's really happening is that your inner wisdom is rejecting goals that aren't aligned with your true nature. Your soul is sophisticated enough to know the difference between desires that arise from authentic inspiration and desires that arise from social conditioning, fear, or ego. When you sabotage goals that aren't truly yours, you're not being weak or undisciplined. You're being wise. You're refusing to waste your precious life energy on pursuits that would ultimately leave you feeling empty even if you achieve them. This is classic Taoist wisdom in action. Lao Tzu taught that the Tao does nothing, yet nothing is left undone. Your apparent self-sabotage around inauthentic goals is actually your way of conserving your energy for what truly matters. The second form of self-sabotage that's actually wisdom is your tendency to withdraw from competitive environments and situations that require you to diminish others to elevate yourself. You've probably been told that you're not ambitious enough, that you don't have a killer instinct, that you're too soft for the real world. When opportunities arise that would require you to step on others, to manipulate situations for personal gain, to participate in systems that you know are harmful, you find yourself pulling back. You sabotage your own advancement in these arenas, and everyone around you wonders why you're not more aggressive in pursuing what they consider success. But your withdrawal isn't weakness. It's the manifestation of a deep understanding that true strength doesn't come from domination, but from alignment with the natural flow of life. Taoism teaches that the highest form of power is Wu Wei, often translated as effortless action or non-forcing. When you refuse to force your way to the top, when you step back from competitions that require you to violate your own values, when you choose collaboration over domination, you're not sabotaging your chances for success. You're honoring a form of success that's far more sustainable and fulfilling than anything based on defeating others. The third way you sabotage yourself that's actually profound spiritual intelligence is through your resistance to accumulating things, experiences, or achievements that don't nourish your soul. In a consumer culture that equates more with better, your natural tendency towards simplicity can feel like self-deprivation. You start to acquire things, to collect experiences, to build an impressive resume, but then something in you stops the process. You lose interest in shopping, you decline invitations to events that don't excite you, you choose fewer commitments over more impressive ones, and everyone around you wonders why you're not trying harder to build a bigger, more impressive life. This apparent lack of ambition is actually your inner wisdom protecting you from the exhaustion that comes with pursuing external validation rather than internal fulfillment. Taoism teaches that true wealth comes not from having much, but from wanting little, not from accumulating experiences, but from deeply enjoying simple pleasures, not from impressing others, but from being at peace with yourself. When you sabotage attempts to build a life based on appearances rather than essence, you're actually choosing depth over surface, quality over quantity, being over having. This isn't self-sabotage, it's self-preservation at the highest level. The fourth form of apparent self-sabotage that reveals your Taoist nature is your tendency to slow down when everyone else is speeding up. In moments when society demands quick decisions, immediate responses, rapid action, you find yourself naturally wanting to pause, to reflect, to feel your way forward rather than think your way forward. This can be incredibly frustrating for people around you who are living in the fast lane, and you might feel like your need for slowness is holding you back, sabotaging opportunities that require quick action. But your natural rhythm of slowness isn't laziness or indecision, it's wisdom. You understand intuitively what Taoist masters have always taught, that the right action taken at the right time with the right energy is far more powerful than frantic activity motivated by fear or social pressure. When you slow down in a fast-moving world, you're not falling behind. You're connecting with a deeper timing, a natural rhythm that allows you to move through life with grace rather than force. Your apparent self-sabotage around speed is actually your commitment to quality over quantity, to depth over surface, to wisdom over reactivity. Consider for a moment how many times you've been criticized for not moving fast enough, not deciding quickly enough, not jumping on opportunities that had artificial time limits attached to them. How often have you later discovered that your slowness saved you from mistakes that those quick-moving people around you ended up making? Your natural pace isn't sabotage, it's intelligence. It's your inner wisdom protecting you from the chaos that comes with moving faster than your natural rhythm allows. The fifth way you sabotage yourself, that's actually deep spiritual awareness, is through your inability to maintain enthusiasm for pursuits that require you to disconnect from your authentic feelings. Our culture demands that we separate our personal lives from our professional lives, that we compartmentalize our values from our actions, that we suppress our authentic responses in favor of socially appropriate ones. But you've discovered that you can't maintain motivation for activities that require you to split yourself in half. When a job requires you to pretend to be more extroverted than you are, when a relationship demands that you suppress your depth in favor of superficial interaction, when social situations require you to smile and nod, when you want to speak honestly about what you're observing, you find yourself losing steam. You sabotage opportunities that require you to be inauthentic, and everyone tells you that you're being too sensitive, too idealistic, too unwilling to play the game. But your inability to sustain inauthenticity isn't a character flaw, it's a character strength. You're naturally aligned with the Taoist principle of integrity, which means wholeness, undividedness, alignment between inner truth and outer expression. When you sabotage situations that require you to fragment yourself, you're actually protecting your wholeness, honoring your authentic nature, choosing psychological health over external approval. The sixth form of self-sabotage that's actually wisdom is your tendency to question everything, especially the assumptions and beliefs that everyone else takes for granted. In a culture that rewards conformity and punishes deep thinking, your natural inclination to examine the foundations of commonly accepted ideas can make you appear negative, difficult, or overly analytical. You sabotage your own social acceptance by asking questions that make people uncomfortable, by refusing to go along with group thinking when it doesn't feel true to you, by choosing independent thought over popular opinion. This questioning nature isn't cynicism or negativity, it's the manifestation of a mind that naturally seeks truth rather than comfort. Taoism encourages us to question everything, to see through appearances to the underlying reality, to trust our direct experience more than received wisdom. When you sabotage your own social popularity by asking difficult questions, when you choose truth over harmony, when you risk being seen as different because you refuse to pretend agreement when you don't actually agree, you're not being difficult, you're being authentic. The seventh way you sabotage yourself that reveals your deeper wisdom is through your natural resistance to systems and structures that prioritize efficiency over humanity. You might find yourself unable to maintain enthusiasm for workplaces that treat people like machines, for social structures that value productivity over well-being, for systems that sacrifice individual authenticity for collective efficiency. When you step back from these environments, when you choose less impressive opportunities that allow you to maintain your humanity, when you sabotage your own advancement in dehumanizing systems, everyone around you questions your judgment. But your resistance to dehumanizing efficiency isn't weakness. its strength. It's your soul's refusal to participate in systems that disconnect us from our essential nature. Taoism teaches that we are not machines designed for maximum output, but natural beings designed for harmony, balance, and authentic expression. When you sabotage your own success in systems that require you to suppress your humanity, you're actually choosing your humanity. You're refusing to trade your soul for external achievements that would ultimately leave you feeling empty and disconnected. The eighth form of apparent self-sabotage that's actually sophisticated emotional intelligence is your tendency to withdraw from relationships and situations that require you to manage other people's emotions rather than honor your own. You might find yourself pulling back from friendships that demand constant positivity, from romantic relationships that require you to suppress your authentic responses to maintain peace, from family dynamics that expect you to play a role rather than be yourself. This withdrawal can look like self-sabotage because you're choosing solitude over social connection, authenticity over harmony, truth over comfort. But what you're actually doing is protecting your emotional integrity. You understand instinctively that relationships built on emotional manipulation or suppression aren't sustainable or nourishing. Your apparent social self-sabotage is actually your commitment to emotional authenticity, to relationships based on truth rather than convenience, to connections that honor your whole self rather than just the parts that others find comfortable. The ninth way you sabotage yourself that's actually deep wisdom is through your natural inclination to value being, overdoing, presence over productivity, depth over breadth. In a culture obsessed with achievement, accomplishment, and external markers of success, your preference for simple presence can appear to be laziness or lack of ambition. You sabotage opportunities for advancement that would require you to sacrifice your inner peace for outer achievement, and everyone around you wonders why you're not more driven. But your commitment to being overdoing isn't lack of ambition. It's the highest form of intelligence. You understand that all the doing in the world is meaningless if it's not grounded in authentic being, that productivity without presence is ultimately empty, that achievements that cost you your inner peace are actually failures disguised as successes. When you choose depth over breadth, quality over quantity, presence over productivity, you're not sabotaging your potential for success. You're choosing a form of success that's sustainable and fulfilling. The 10th and final form of self-sabotage that reveals your Taoist nature is your tendency to trust your intuitive knowing over external authorities, even when your intuition leads you away from conventional wisdom. You might find yourself sabotaging relationships with mentors, teachers, or leaders who want you to follow their prescribed path rather than your own inner guidance. You pull back from educational programs, career paths, or spiritual teachings that require you to override your inner knowing in favor of external instruction. This apparent rebelliousness isn't stubbornness or arrogance, it's your natural alignment with the Taoist principle of trusting the Tao within yourself. Lao Tzu taught that the best teacher is the one who makes themselves unnecessary by helping students connect with their own inner wisdom. When you sabotage your relationships with external authorities who want to replace your inner guidance with their outer instruction, you're not being difficult. You're being wise. You're choosing to trust the deepest intelligence available to you, the intelligence that knows your unique path better than any external authority ever could. Understanding these forms of apparent self-sabotage as expressions of deeper wisdom doesn't mean becoming passive or giving up on growth and contribution. It means recognizing that your natural resistance to certain forms of success, achievement, and social expectation isn't evidence of personal failure, but evidence of spiritual intelligence. It means trusting that your soul knows the difference between authentic growth and artificial inflation, between genuine contribution and empty performance, between real success and hollow achievement. Your Taoist nature isn't something to overcome, but something to honor and cultivate. In a world that has lost touch with natural rhythms, authentic feeling, and genuine wisdom, your apparent self-sabotage might actually be the very medicine the world needs. When you refuse to participate in systems that are harmful to human flourishing, when you choose depth over surface, when you prioritize being overdoing, when you trust your inner guidance over external pressure, you're not just protecting yourself. You're modeling a different way of being human, one that could help our entire culture remember what we've forgotten in our rush toward efficiency and achievement. The next time you feel like you're sabotaging yourself, pause and ask what your deepest wisdom might be trying to protect or preserve. The next time you feel guilty for not wanting what you think you should want, consider that your lack of desire might be intelligence rather than inadequacy. The next time you feel bad about withdrawing from situations that others think you should embrace, Remember that your withdrawal might be the very thing that allows you to maintain your integrity and authenticity in a world that often demands their sacrifice. Your apparent self-sabotage isn't evidence that you're broken or weak or undisciplined. It's evidence that you're naturally aligned with an ancient wisdom tradition that understood something our modern world has forgotten, that true success comes not from forcing your way through life, but from flowing with life's natural rhythms, not from accumulating external achievements, but from cultivating inner peace, not from impressing others, but from being authentic to yourself. If this exploration has helped you see your apparent self-sabotage in a new light, if it's given you permission to trust your natural rhythms and authentic responses, rather than fighting against them, I invite you to like this video and share it with others who might need to hear that their resistance to conventional success isn't failure but wisdom. Consider subscribing to this channel if you're ready to continue exploring how ancient Taoist wisdom can guide us toward more authentic and fulfilling ways of living in our modern world. Together, we can remember that the path of the Tao isn't about conquering life, but about dancing with it. Not about forcing outcomes, but about trusting the process. Not about becoming someone else, but about becoming more fully ourselves. Remember, what you call self-sabotage might actually be self-preservation at the highest level. What you call giving up might actually be letting go. What you call failure might actually be the beginning of finding your true success. One that's measured not by external achievements, but by internal peace. Not by what you accumulate, but by who you become. Not by how much you do, but by how present you are while doing it. Trust your Taoist nature. It knows the way.